Yeah, c'était mon cheval, pardon.
Okay, hello everybody. Thank you for joining this meeting.
Nein, ich bin auf Mute.
Oh, okay.
Oh, fuck.
What we doing?
Hol mir mal Papier und
Okay. Thank you for joining this meeting, everybody. This is our second official meeting for the Academic Research Club.
So before we begin going more detailed into research and the types of research, we just wanted to remind you guys of our mentorship opportunities and other forms of assistance we have for our members. So you have multiple different resources you can email. All of our board members were connected to this one research, LBCC academicresearch@gmail.com. You can just shoot us an email anytime and then we'll respond in a couple days. You can also reach out to any member that's on Discord. So instead of just messaging us board members, you can talk to other members and reach out, see if you want to have a brainstorming session, come up with ideas. And more details will come about the mentorship, where you can be paired with one of us and you'll have dedicated guidance and like a clear foundation, clear relationship.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so today we're going to briefly go over the types of research. So let's just start off with the first thing. We have basic versus applied. So there, I listed, for any basic research, they like to develop knowledge and theories and predictions. It's usually kind of like the general kind of research that practically like everyone uses. And then also it says, like apply, they want to develop techniques, products and procedures on, what you would assume, things that have already been founded or studied, and maybe they wanted to find like a substitute. This is usually for like medicine. That really sucks. I'm sorry. And then, so there we have the basic versus applied. Then we have our exploratory versus explanatory. An exploratory research, so it says here, it's kind of in the name itself. Yes, you're trying to find out more about an under-researched issue or concern. It could be political, medical, anything of that sort. While you have, the explanatory, where you're already covering like an existing topic, and you just explaining the pros and cons there, or however you wish. And then the last kind of general research, this is an overview, by the way. It branches off. We'll go into that later. You have your inductive versus deductive, in which your inductive aims to develop a theory, while your deductive wants to test the theory. So, go to the next slide. Okay. And then now we're going to be talking about how to acquire our data. So we start off first with primary. Again, it's in the name itself. You're acquiring the data on your own, secondary, as opposed to secondary, it's already been collected, like in other previous surveys or like from other scientific articles, and you're just essentially using their data to kind of support your thesis or just your research paper in general. And in that case, that's when you have to cite them. In case, sometimes like research, it can get really bad when, you steal some sort of data like that. And then moving on with qualitative versus quantitative. And again, qualitative is more about, the quality of your data. If you'd like maybe like a certain type of data, just like maybe like how it's presented, whereas, like quantitative just strictly focuses on like, like the numbers and like, like what those like statistics really account for your study. Sorry. And then you have your descriptive data, which gathers data without controlling any variables. And then your experimental, which that's when you come in and then you manipulate kind of like the data itself. However you want to see it fit within your research, that's when your manipulation comes in. All right, and then the last thing that I'm going to talk about, so right there, types of sampling, time scale, and location. First off, you have probability sampling. So probability sampling, you're going to work off of like a small like collection of data, and then you're going to basically like you're trying to use that data to kind of account for like the general population, as opposed to, you know, non-probability. They only want to define a data specifically for the people that were chosen. You know, in case of like, let's say you're doing a study on like people with Alzheimer's, you know, that could be a general population. Maybe it's just like for the general Alzheimer's community, or maybe like someone with Alzheimer's and like maybe a specific disease. That's where the non-probability comes in, because that's like only your true focus. I hope that made sense. Or, you know, what's listed there, maybe a celebrity or president as well. And then you have your cross-sectional studies, where you also gather data at a single point in time. So it's like a one day, kind of like a survey thing, you know, and then you kind of determine the results there. Or you do something like a longitudinal study, where this is where you collect data throughout like several time periods. And then you have your field research, where it takes place in a natural and a real world setting. And then you have your laboratory, where you're able to, you know, be in a controlled environment and you get to manipulate your variables there. And then the last thing we can talk about is the fixed research. So fixed research is everything is completely designed. You have your hypothesis, you have your methods before even doing anything, as opposed to, you know, having a flexible research and your variables constantly change as you're performing, you know, your study. So that's pretty much it. I'm sure Mark will send you the slides later.
Yeah.
That way you can kind of go back and see like maybe what you want to do.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it.
All right, basis of research. Research for everyone, it's subjective, the procedures, the methods used, but overall the basics that they share in common, often it's an interest of the person who wrote it, the author, and it's a sincere interest that prolongs or that allows them to continue the research on a long time frame. It's what they usually do, or for me at least, I had a question that I wanted answered, and I went on my way, did my research, and I got the answer. Through analysis, it was deep and concentrative, but that's the overall, the back frame of research. I was looking through the applicants, and I noticed that some did do some interesting research. Brian specifically, yours caught my eye. Are you here? Or Lauren? Anyone want to talk about it? Hey, Brian.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Sorry, I'm just eating. I didn't want to.
Do you mind? I'll let you eat then. Unless you want to share. Do you want to share your procedure, or like quickly, your thought process, or how you did your research, any of them?
The way I did my research was literally I just went to like PubMed. Yeah, I went to PubMed. I gathered some data from there. I also invested in some books on like massage therapy and its healing benefits. Mm-hmm. Some of them were also geared towards other forms of manual therapy, like exercise was one of them, meditation was another one. They had chiropractic and stuff. So I just I invested in books and that. There's an author, somebody who's really prominent in the field of massage therapy, Tiffany Field. She has like a whole bunch of like books out there on things that she's researched. Yoga is one of them. Medical or massage benefits for premature babies and stuff like that. So she has a facility out there in Miami at the university there. So I guess with that being said, maybe some of the universities will have information on any of their studies that they've done in any topic. I mean, not just what I'm doing, but it could be biology, it could be, any type of sciences, mathematics, whatever.
So you went out of your way and you gathered data and you went over other people's research, essentially. That's what I did too for my research. I think I don't want to say it's the most common, but it's pretty common, and it's often the simplest, not the easiest, but it is the simplest. Mark, I know you did the research for UCI. How did you do it?
So my research was on gender and race. So it involved reading a few books on the topic of gender and race. And I found a question I wanted to answer, which was, what are the differences in gender and race as a dynamic? Like, what are the dynamic differences? So it's just a matter of reading and then figuring out ways in which they are different, and then putting it all together in a research paper.
Yeah. So essentially, from what we can take from this is that it's subjective to everyone. So eventually we will get into detail and more interpersonal with the helping you guys. So when you do come to an idea, I think it'll be maybe the next meeting, or maybe we'll just do it over email. We will get specific and detailed with possible procedures and methods on how to do your research.
Right. And also, I'll be sending out this slide after the meeting, and it has a link for the research topic examples, and it's 115 different research topics. If you want to get inspiration from there, or if you just want to copy them, it's up to you.
So this is basically, so my name is Nadia, I'm the club rep, sorry. So this is basically where you're gonna go to find credible sources. I've used this a lot for a lot of my classes actually. It's a really good database. You wanna make sure that also when you're doing this process, you wanna, if you're not using these school databases, you want to look up your authors and make sure they're credible sources, because I took an English 3 honors class and I wrote an essay and some of the authors weren't credible and I lost points for that. So to be published, we have to make sure that the authors are credible. So I put PubMed here, the LBCC website. I don't know if some of you guys are new, but this is basically, we have the library part of the LBCC website, and you would go on here to access the databases. Step-by-step process to begin research. So thinking of ideas, like for me, I'm writing about a nutritional aspect for my research, and that's something that I'm passionate about. Something for your class, like if you're already writing that for your class, you can also use it for the club as well. So that's a couple things.
Jess, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, real quick, I just wanted to add, if you check in the chat right now, I sent a link. I've noticed that a lot, I've been looking into my research and I can't access these articles, and I'm not going to pay $40 just to access them. So if you click on this link and you type in the title or your DOI number of that article, it actually allows you to break through that barrier for free. And you basically get to download that article for free. So I just found out about that today or yesterday. So, hopefully everybody can also use that too.
Yeah, but that PubMed one, that one is free, right? Because I use that as well.
Sometimes it is, which is really good. But yesterday I was trying to access another article through PubMed and I wasn't allowed to. So yeah, but that site that I sent should work literally for any article on the internet. So.
Okay, nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
And also, just before we go to the next slide, I just want to say follow the Instagram, because we'll post meeting stuff and stories, and just follow it because it's good to be connected.
Yeah, I'm gonna send the Instagram handle in the email, and I just want to say Nadia runs the Instagram, and she's doing a really good job with it. It's very active and detailed, and it's definitely a good follow. because it not only gives you information on the club, but it gives you information on the school and things that's going on.
Yeah. So if anyone knows me, they know that I don't do social media. So this is like a new experience for me. I've never had Instagram, anything. So
Yeah.
I just hope I get better, you know?
Wow. Okay. So Microsoft, the company, made a little PowerPoint presentation on conducting research. And we thought, we're teaching about research, why not, you know, give you guys extra information? So I'm going to go over this presentation really fast. I shortened it just so you guys can get a little more information on the research process. So how to write a great research paper. So the number one thing is write. Do not wait. You know, you don't want to let time pass and not do any, not get any work done. At the end of this meeting, we're going to give some goals that you should try to complete in the next 2 weeks. You want to try to complete those goals. You want to get working. So there are two models for how to write a research paper. One of the first one, which is like the most common, what most of us do, is you identify an idea, you do research, and then you write the paper. It's just, you know, step by step. However, there's also model number 2, which is, which is you identify your idea, write the paper, and do the research after. Now, this is mostly for like humanities papers, like philosophy, political science, where you already know the direction you're going and you can just fill in the research afterwards. But if you're doing any sort of STEM or like experimental research, you have to do model 1. Of course, identify your key idea. Identify one concept that your research paper will be built around, the core of your paper. Do not be intimidated. This is a big, this appears like a big complex process, but it really isn't. It can be broken down into small pieces. It's totally doable. A 7th grader can do research. It just takes, you know, planning. But yeah. So tell a story. I left this in the slide because it applies to like humanities papers. If you're doing like some sort of STEM or like, I don't know, examining Maxwell's equations or something like that, of course, you can't really make a narrative out of it, but you can make a narrative out of, you know, philosophy or political science where you want it to really have an impact. So just something to keep in mind. You want your research to make an impact by being embedded in a narrative. Of course, make sure you describe the problem. You don't want to just start writing and not talk about what you're trying to solve. You know, what you're like, why are you making this research? Like, what purpose does this research serve? So describe the problem. And put your readers first. I changed it to prioritize the reader's perspective. So when you're writing, keep in mind what your readers are thinking, because they don't have your mind. They don't know the things you know. You want to break things down so that they understand just by reading it. They don't have to have any other extra information. So just something to keep in mind as you write. And that is all. So now I'll go back to the slide.
I think Brian has a question.
Oh, go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
That's okay, thank you. I wanted to ask about making sure the authors are credible. Like, how do you know if an author is credible or not credible?
Like, okay, so you look them up and you see they're a professor or they're a doctor or they have some type of degree in the field.
Okay,
Things along those lines. Like,
got it.
it's different for every author though. Like for some of my papers that I've wrote, I've had some papers where the person was in a different country, so I couldn't even find them. But I used it anyway because it was just for class.
Right.
But for something like this, it'd be different.
I understand. So like an average Joe, right, or average Jane, you wouldn't be able to use any other sources if they're not like accredited within that field, right?
You probably want to not.
I don't want to be like, no, you know?
Yeah, absolutely not. All right,
I have something to say. Sorry. So when I was taught, you know, using like research, like stuff like that, actually, you pretty much can quote anyone, Obviously, like, just, I would prefer you do a little more research on that, but actually you can quote anyone as long as you state in your paper, okay, hey, you can't say that this is like a pure statement. You can say that maybe like this author, offered his opinion and so on. And you can write it that way. You just have to be careful with how you choose your, your diction when you're writing your research paper. But you should be able to, it's just, when you do stuff like that, especially on like people that you don't really know about, and that it's an opinion, and you're trying to analyze it, you have to clarify that, hey, this isn't a statement that the author made. This is purely his opinion and what you think about it. If you were to do like a review analysis paper or something like that.
I understand. Thank you.
But like me personally, when I'm writing a research paper, I mean, it's probably just easier to just make sure they're a student or they are associated with some sort of school. I'm like, of course, like I've even brought in people who like are not, and like my last research paper, I included people who aren't academic at all, but like I think it kind of hurt the strength of my paper. So if you can, I would just try to stick with like academic people.
I understand. Thank you.
AJ?
Yeah, all right. I just wanted to have some direction for our next meeting. So we were kind of hoping that you guys could identify your field of interest, kind of like the general field of interest, and then within that field of interest, or if you have multiple, just kind of try and develop 3 topics. And you want to really work on developing one of them that you think is maybe like your best, but have a couple in the back burner too. Yeah, and make sure to reach out, use your resources. Obviously, if you have like professors in your field at the school that you've had before, maybe reach out to them. They can get give you some input.
Yeah,
What's
great.
the word? I don't know. My brain just froze. But yeah, they can give you some feedback on that. So yeah, try and have some ideas for next meeting.
Yeah, please have ideas for next meeting. Are there any other final questions before the meeting ends?
I want to say something. Does anyone have any ideas now that they want to share, like about what they want to write about? Anything?
Yeah, it's a good question. Does anyone know what they might want to write about? I feel like Lauren does.
Or Edwin. Or Anne.
Lauren, you go first. What are you writing about?
I actually have a paper written already on, I'm going to present it at the HTCC conference, but it's about public policy regarding Muslims within France and China.
Great. Anyone else willing to share what they might be interested in writing about? If not, I will conclude this meeting. Yes, Edwin?
I'll share. My 2 interests right now are based on neurons or cells.
Okay, beautiful. All right then, well, I guess I will end this meeting then. Thank you for coming, everybody. I will send out the information, the Instagram, the PowerPoint, the slide, and everything.
Don't forget the link.
Yeah, and the links, everything.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, bye,
All right,
everybody.
guys.